So if I ask you, last week we spent some time talking about the beginning of the Megillah. Now I want to move a little bit into the meat of the Megillah and really find sort of like a perplexing question that I think we need answered. That normally I think we would not have even realized, and hopefully we'll be able to take a lesson from it. And I think that it'll be good. It's like a good tune-up for everybody, right? Getting ready for tomorrow night. We'll be able to read some of the Megillah and then sort of get a feel. So I'm starting in the third parak, Parak Gimel. And the parak begins, Achar hadvarim ha'ele, after these things, Gidal hamelech Achashverosh, es Haman ben Hamedasa, ha'agagi vayinasehu. And Achashverosh raises up Haman, vayasem es kiso, he makes his seat, me'al kol asarim asherito, from above all of the ministers that are around. And all of the servants of the king who were sitting at the gates of the palace, bow down to Haman, because that is what the king had commanded. I remember when I was in yeshiva, my Rosh Yeshiva used to say about certain boys that, like you're bad news because your wife is going to be koreo mishtachaveh to you, meaning that you have such a personality that you're going to be, your wife is going to bow down to you, as opposed to, having a relationship in which that was a little bit more equal. So it was sort of like his way of telling these individuals, like, you need help. Mordechai lo yichra v'lo yishtachaveh, and Mordechai decided he was not going to bow down. So obviously, they asked Mordechai, what are you doing? Why aren't you following the command of the king? And they told him this every day, and Mordechai didn't listen. Mitch is hanging the tent light. That's why he can't make me. That's okay. Then he questioned Mark, host. Yes, please. But if you all have your Megillas, it's fine. So they told him every day. They told Haman, to see if Mordechai's, if it was really true that Mordechai was a Jew. Haman sees Mordechai is not bowing down to him. Haman becomes angry. He, in his eyes, he had disdain for the Jewish people. First, he thought maybe he would do something to Mordechai himself. But they told him the Mordechai. They told him the nation of Mordechai. And so Haman decided to kill all of the Jews Mordechai, who are in the entire kingdom of Achashverosh, the nation of Mordechai. When? Now, I want you to pay attention, very important as we go through here. I want you to pay attention to the dates here. Dates are very important. So when did this take place? The month of Nisan. During the 12th year of Achashverosh's rule, he pilpur hu hagoral lifnei Haman. This is the goral, this is the lottery from Haman, miyom liyom, from day to day, umechodesh lechodesh shnei masaru chodesh Adar, until it fell on the 12th month, which is the month of Adar.
Rabbi, you okay?
Everyone following along?
Okay?
Larry Ryan, you showed up.
No, are you okay? I just got your text.
I spoke about the disappointment that we have in this generation. When I texted you at 8:01 and I didn't respond by 8:02.
I know. I apologize. I was on a call. I'm sorry. Are you good?
What a world we live in, huh? Okay.
I know. I'm so sorry, Rabbi.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen because it's just going to be a little bit easier that I can just put my cursor over the different psukim that I read. Hold on. Oh, wait a second, Larry. Larry, do you know what happened? Mitch came in and made me co-host. Then you came in and you disabled participant screen sharing.
Wait a minute. I'm going to give it back to you.
Hold on a second. If you could just enable screen sharing.
I will also make you
We're
host as
measly
well.
unhosts.
I will make you host.
Appreciate that. Let me know when it's done.
It's done.
Oh, now I'm the host. You made me the host.
I made you the host. You're not even co-host. You're the
It's so
host.
important being the host. Okay, everybody see me here. Here I am. Okay. So this is what I want you to pay attention to. Okay. So when is this done? When does he make this lottery? In the first month, which was the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of Achashverosh's kingdom. So he makes the lottery, and the lottery falls out to be 11 months later in the month of Adar. Good? Everyone with me? So Haman says, okay, fine. Now at least I have a date, right? Now I have a target date. Now let me go and sell my project. So he goes to the king, and he says, yes, no, Amechad, there's one nation. They are divided, they're split amongst the nations in your kingdom. And they're different. They're different than everyone. And they don't follow the rules of the king. But now what did he mean? What was he referring to? The rules of the king. Well, the rules of the king was where he's presented that, hey, why aren't you bowing down to Haman? That was a rule. You didn't bow down to Haman. That meant that the Jewish people did not follow the rules of the king. So he says, look, it's not worth it for the king to keep them. It's not worth it to leave them alone. If the king is good, he can save I'll destroy them. Right? And it will be aseret alafim, which is 10,000 of the weight of the silver. Pasuk Yud, right? What does the king end up doing? He takes his ring off, and he hands it to Haman. He says, do what you got to do. The king says to Haman, the money is given to you. Whatever you want to do with this nation, I really couldn't care less. Pasuk Yud Beis 12. Vayikaru. So now they have to take it to the scribes of the king, right? Because they're the ones who write everything down and make it the rule of the land. So they call the scribes of the king B'chodesh Harishon. What is the Chodesh Harishon? What month is it? Everyone, let's get a little interactive here. When I ask, like, what month is it? You can all answer. You know?
Nisan.
Can we do that? Everybody?
Nisan.
Nisan.
You guys can't unmute yourselves?
We did.
I mute everyone?
We did.
You
We
can't
can
hear
mute
us. We're all talking.
Seriously?
We're all talking.
Can
don't
you hear
anything?
us?
Where's Larry Ryan when you need him? He disappeared?
Can you hear us,
Can
Rabbi?
you hear us? We're talking.
I don't hear you guys. Oh,
We're
wait a
all
second.
talking.
We're all
Hold
talking.
on.
We're all
You may
talking.
need to unmute.
Oh.
You have to raise your volume.
Now I hear you. I didn't have my speaker on.
Well, that's a problem.
Oh.
Now I hear you. Okay, so what month was it?
Nisan.
Nisan.
So what day of Nisan? The 13th day of Nisan, okay? Which is Erev Pesach. This is when they decided to make the decree. And they wrote exactly what Haman told the advisors of the king to put down. When you have it here in the English, the king's satraps, whatever a satrap is, to the governors of every province, and to the officials of every people, to every province in its own script, and to every people in its own language. The orders were issued in the name of King Achashverosh and sealed with the king's signet. Okay, I'm playing up here. All right, let's continue. Let's continue along. So, V'nishloach Svarim, Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'nishloach Svarim, they should send out letters, instructions. Yad Haratzim El Kol Medinos HaMelech, that would be dispatched by couriers to all of the lands of the king, lahashmid, laharog, lahabed, et kol hayudim, to destroy, to massacre, to exterminate the Jewish people. Minar v'ad zaken, whether it was young or old, taf and ashim, children and women. You know, when you read this in English, it's like eerily familiar, right? Eerily familiar. So unbelievable. Biyom echad, on one day, b'shlosha asar l'chodesh shneim asar hu chodesh adar. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, ushlalam lavos, and to plunder their possessions. So imagine what the Jews know at this time. Now, remember, what day were we on at this moment?
The 13th day.
Whoa, hold on. We were on the 13th of what month?
Nisan.
Nisan.
And the Jews were to be killed on the 13th of
Adar.
Adar, the following year. So we were 11 months away, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Well, it wasn't good. Yeah. So Pasuk Yud Dalet, Pashegen Aksavli Nasein Das B'chol Midnom Dina Galui L'chol Hamim Lios HaYehudim. I'm sorry. Lios Atidim Layom Hazeh. So the text of the document was to the effect that a law should be proclaimed in every single province. It was to be publicly displayed to all the peoples so that they might be ready for that day. Could you imagine, by the way, what it means that they should be ready for that day? It means be ready to slaughter Jews. Remember that this whole thing they had with this actress who made the comment about, I don't even know exactly, but she said something about the people, when the Jews were taken away by the Nazis, that the residents of their towns like handed the Jews over and like beat the Jews and whatever, and it was a whole big to-do. The people here were forewarned, hey, everybody, let you know, the 13th of Adar is going to be the day. You're going to be able to take all the Jews' belongings and you're going to kill all of them. So it's going to be a great time. Now imagine the terror of the Jewish people living in Shushan and surrounding areas. Pasuk Tezva 15. Haratzim yatzu t'chufim b'dvar hamelech v'hadas nitna b'Shushan habira. So the couriers went out and on their royal mission. V'hamelech v'Haman yashvu lishtos. The king and Haman sat down to the feast, but the city of Shushan was dumbfounded. And why was it dumbfounded? Because there was a big constituency, which was the Jewish people, who were just like, whoa, what just happened? And what is going to happen? Okay. Now, hold on a second. Hold on. Whoa. Wait a second. Did I miss a parak here? Okay, we're going to have to do some magic here really quickly for 1 second. Okay, so I can get another parak in here. I'm sorry about this, everyone. I'm sorry. Not good, but now you can see the magic at work. What parak was this? We just read parak 4, correct? Parak 3, okay?
3.
Yes, so now we need Esther 4. Beautiful, look at that. Mordechai yada is called Asher Nasa. Mordechai knew everything that was happening. Vayikra Mordechai es bigadav. Mordechai tears his clothing. Vayilbash sak vayifer. He wears sackcloth. Vayetze b'socha'ir. He goes out to the city. Vayizak ze'akagid alon mara. He starts crying. Vayavo alifnei shar hamelech ki em lavo shar hamelech b'shbulvush sak. So he comes until he came to the front of the palace gate, for you cannot enter the palace gate wearing sackcloth. And look what happens. And in every province, wherever this decree reached, there was Abel Gadol LaYehudim. There was terrible mourning among the Jews. It was their death sentence. And they were fasting, they were crying, they were wailing. Everyone was wearing sackcloth. Okay?
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
Please.
So you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that this was 11 months that they knew that they were going to be killed, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
we're still in the Nissan.
we're still in Nissan, correct?
Right. So if they had 11 months,
Oh, Nancy, you should be giving the shear.
no, I should not.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about here, right? So they had 11 months. They had 11 months. Mordechai immediately starts wailing through the streets. The Jewish people, and remember back then, right? There's no email, so when the messengers are going out, it's taking a couple of days, right? But everyone's getting this. They're getting this information, and you would think, okay, let's have a nice big Jewish convention and figure out what we're going to do with the 11 months that we have left to be able to appeal to the king. Mordechai doesn't get the convention together, right? Mordechai decides to go, he's doing this on his own because he has someone inside. The question now is going to be, well, why did Mordechai not take time? Now, hold on, just hold on as we continue. Nancy, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I think I got your question, right?
You got my question.
Okay. So now let's look what happens here. So Vatavona na'aros Esther v'sariseha vayagidula. The Esther's maidens come to her and they tell her, Vatischalchal hamalkam me'od, and she was very upset. Now, at this moment, what do you think she's upset about? What is she upset about? Don't be shocked.
She knows what's going to happen down the road.
No, she doesn't. She's upset because Mordechai's making a mockery of himself. She's upset that Mordechai's making a mockery of himself and walking around in sackcloth.
Oh,
She's embarrassed, right? Any of us as a child, are we ever embarrassed of our parents? I promise that my children will never be embarrassed of me,
yeah.
right? And then their father decided to become this like public figure. What are you going to do? Don't worry, there's plenty of times they're embarrassed. Okay, so what does she do? Vatishlach begadim. She sends clothing, the halbishas Mordechai, to dress Mordechai. You know, Mordechai gets dressed. Ulhasir sakol me'alav v'lo kibel. But now she senses something's wrong because she gives him this clothing and he's like, no, I don't want it. Meaning she sent the messengers to give him clothing, right? So all of a sudden she sees something's up. Vatikra Esther lahasach. So Esther calls Hatach, and she says to him, "Misari Sehamelach." This is one of the king's aides, and she says, "Asher emid lefaneha, but it's avei Mordechai ladas mazeh v'al mazeh," and she commands him to ask Mordechai, and the words ladas mazeh v'al mazeh, to know what this and what that is. So to me, it would be like, Mordechai, what's up? What's the deal? What are you doing? Right? So Hasach goes out, by Yetze Hasach el Mordechai, he goes out to Mordechai, El Rechov Ha'ir, to the street, Asher Lefnei Shar HaMelech. So Mordechai tells him, listen, I'll tell you what's going on. This is what's going on. Vayaged la Mordechai zakli Asher Karahu. V'yes parashas ha'kesef, Asher Amar Aman Lishkol, Al Ginzei HaMelech, Ba'Yehudim le'Abdam. So he shows him, listen, this is what's going on. All the Jews are going to be killed in 11 months. And he continues to tell him in Pasuk Ches. So Pasuk Tes 9, Vayavo Hasach Vayaged le'Esther es divrei Mordechai. So Hasach comes and he tells Esther what Mordechai said. I mentioned on Shabbos and Shul, like this guy Hasach, he had like confidentiality, like the Secret Service, right? Because if he was a minister of the king and he's about to tell Esther what's going on the outside, and that Haman is trying to kill all the Jews, he might have told Haman, and then everybody would be in trouble. So I mentioned the Medrash, which said that the Pasuk here says is Kol Asher Karahu. That word Karahu was like a code word for Amalek. So what does Esther respond? So Vayavo Hasach Vayaged le'Esther es divrei Mordechai. So Hasach comes back and tells Esther the words of Mordechai. Look what she said. Look what he says. Vatomer Esther lahasach v'tetzaveu el Mordechai. Okay, very nice. Esther, Mordechai says to Esther, do something. Esther says to Mordechai, listen. Kol avdei hamelech be'am. Everyone knows Mordechai. Midinos hamelech yodim. everyone in the states of the king knows. Asher kol ish v'isha, any man or woman, asher yavo el hamelech el hachatzer hapnimit asher lo yikareh, anyone who goes into the courtyard and is not summoned by the king, achas daso lehamis, they end up getting the death penalty. Levad, except me'asher yoshid lo hamelech es sharvit zahav v'chaya, except if the king reaches out and gives you his scepter, then you know you're welcome. Va'ani lo nikresi lavo el hamelech zeh shloshim yom, and I am not set to go in front of the king again for another 30 days. Nancy, ask your question again.
Why, if they had 11 months to prepare, did they not do something more?
Ask your question stronger with the pasuk that we just mentioned.
They knew all the information.
More.
They literally were told on what day they were going to be killed.
No, Esther just told Mordecai, you want me to risk my life? We have 11 months, so you want me to risk my life? Now, what's interesting is that we don't see in the Psukim that Mordecai actually told Esther when this was going to happen, but we do see that he sends her, he shows her, he sends along the written text of the law. So she gets a sense that it's 11 months. Therefore, her response is, look, Mordecai, I can't just go in there now, because if I go in there now, I might die. If King Achashverosh is in a bad mood, anyone who enters that courtyard and the king doesn't want them to be there, he gives them a death penalty. And guess what, Mordecai? There was a queen right before me who is no longer, which makes Nancy's question even greater. If we have 11 months, why is Mordecai insisting that Esther risks her life and goes in at a time where she should never have been there and there was a possibility that she'd get killed, as opposed to, she says, I'm not supposed to be there for another 30 days.
No.
If this happens in Nisan and Esther ends up going into Achashverosh and Iyar, there's still plenty of time between Iyar, or let's even say it's Sivan. There's plenty of time between then and the next Adar to undo all of the mess that Haman planned on doing.
Rabbi, she said that she hasn't been there for 30 days. She doesn't know when she's going to be summoned again. It's not that she's going to be summoned in 30 days. She has no idea.
Lo nikresi lavo el hamelech zeh shloshim yom. I have not been summoned for 30 days. Yeah, I think, okay, that's fair. I think that the notion here is that it's not as if she's going to live in the palace forever and that the king not engage her, right?
Who knows?
What?
Who knows? He might engage a woman, and never engage her again.
Okay. All right, so fair. You want to knock down my question a little bit? That's fair. Okay. That's okay. But there are those who are far greater than me, Roberta, who say this is still a question. So let's play with it. Let's play with it. Because I think you make a good point, right? I haven't been there in 30 days, so okay, maybe I won't be there for another year. Okay, fine. But even with that, Roberta, even with that, so why not? Okay, let's wait a month. Let's see if he calls me. I've got this information now, and okay, see if he calls me a month from now, 2 months from now. We have time, right? We have time. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we have time. Question is, what's the urgency? What's the urgency? And look at the response of Mordecai when he hears what Esther says. Vayagidu Mordecai as divrei Esther. They tell Mordecai the words of Esther. Vayomer Mordecai l'hashiv el Esther. And Mordecai says, respond, tell Esther, Al tidami b'nafshech lihimalek beis hamelech mikol haYehudim. Do not imagine that you, of all the Jews, will escape with your life by being in the king's palace. I mean, that's strong, isn't it? I mean, if you look at it from the context of how we just presented it, you know, Esther is just, she's this scared maiden, not maiden, but woman, young woman, just like really frightened. And it's almost as if Mordecai is responding to her in a very harsh way, as if to say, what do you think? You think you're just going to be able to carry on in the palace when all the Jews die? So we really have like this battle forming here between Mordecai and Esther as to like, how do we attack this? Esther is more of, and I just want to say, right? I think when it comes to certain things in life, there are those people when it comes to a crisis who say, you know, let's see where it goes. Don't act right away. Let's see how this develops. And there are those people who respond and are like, no, we've got to do something now. But people on either side would agree that there are certain circumstances that you have to act like the person on the other side. But here, clearly, the approach of Esther and Mordecai are very different. Here is the pasuk now that is going to change the entire narrative of the Megillah and the interaction between Mordecai and Esther. Ki macharesh tacharishi ba'es hazos. On the contrary, if you keep silent in this crisis, Revach behatzala ya'amod laYehudim mimakom acher. Relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter. Ve'at ubeis avich tovedu. And you, while you and your father's house will perish. Umi yodea im le'ez kazos higat lamalchus. And how do you know that if the whole reason why you're in this position is because of this? So all of a sudden, the response of Esther to these words of Mordecai is Pasuk Tesvav. Vatomer Esther lashiva Mordecai. Okay, Esther says, answer Mordecai. Get all the Jews who are in Shushan, and let them fast on me. They shouldn't eat or drink for 3 days and 3 nights. Me and all of my maidens, we're going to fast too. And therefore, I'm going to go into the king, and whatever I lose, I lose. You kind of think to yourself, like, Esther doesn't say to Mordecai, I need to sleep on this. I need to think about it. Boom, Mordecai says something to her in Pasuk Yodalid, changes everything. She's like, okay, go, get everybody fast, let's get moving, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to risk my life and go in. We still have a kasha. What's the rush? What's the rush? And even with Roberta's point, that she says, I haven't been called in 30 days, who knows how much longer it will be. All right, so maybe Esther could have said to Mordecai, you know, Mordecai, check back with me in 2 months. Let's see where we're hoping. And I'm going to keep it in mind. Now, if the king calls me in within 2 months, I have something to discuss with him. What's the rush? And ultimately, there's 2 questions. What's the rush? And the second one is, what changed in this pasuk that really hit Esther? So which one?
Rabbi?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm reading a little further, but then she also goes on to say, but if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. So she's kind of like on the one hand saying, okay, I'm going to do all of this, I'm going to do this. But then she's saying, but if I'm going to die, I'm going to die.
Meaning,
She
I am
seems
willing,
a little,
meaning I am willing to risk my life for the Jewish people.
okay, so she's not like confused. She's just saying, I'm going to do everything. And if it's meant to be that I'm going to die, I'm going to die.
My uncle Mordecai convinced me. That's the reason why I'm here. That's my purpose. That's my mission.
Rabbi,
Yes.
this is Yitz Strauchler. Can I give you a short summary of the wonderful Dvar Torah that Menachem Lichtab gave on this topic?
No, I love you, but I'm worried that, you know, that it might ruin the shear.
Okay. So later on,
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
later on.
Yes, whenever anybody quotes Rabbi Liebtag, they frighten me, especially when I'm giving a shiur. So I don't want to mess myself up here, because he's a man who knows Tanakh upside down, and he scares me. I'm not like in a bad way, in a good way. So I'm getting to the crux of it, right? So we have our two questions, right? Question number one: why they wait so long? Like, why didn't he wait longer? Why would he risk Esther's life? And then question number two: what happens here? So let's answer question number two first. Look at the language. If you're going to remain silent, the Jewish people, they are going to be saved. And you know what? You and your father's home will be lost. You will lose out. So the Chazal make reference to the following. Esther was a descendant of Shaul HaMelech, King Shaul. The Haftarah from last Shabbos was the story of where King Shaul was told to destroy the nation of Amalek. He decided to have mercy on Agag, the king of Amalek, sheep, and Agag was able to get loose to the point where he was able to procreate, and eventually Amalek lives on. Shmuel HaNavi is told by Hashem, you are to go to Shaul and tell him that he has lost the kingdom, the kingship of the Jewish people. Shmuel turns to Shaul and he says to him, what is, because one of the things that Shaul kept was the sheep of Amalek. So he hears this noise and he says, Shmuel sees him, and Shaul says to him, Shmuel says, how did you do? And Shaul says, we did everything God told us. And all of a sudden, Shmuel hears, bah, bah. And he says to Shaul, what's that sound in my ear? And he said, oh, the people had mercy on Agag, on the king, Nebuch, the king. He saw everybody killed, and on the sheep. So Shmuel then says to him, listen, I want to share with you what I heard last night in a dream. And what I heard was that God said that he regrets making Shaul the king. And Shmuel says Shaul realizes he makes a mistake. And he says, listen, let me, I've sinned. And let me do tshuva, let me repent. Vayomer Shmuel says to him, and I should have had this pasuk up here. Let me get this pasuk up here for you. Hold on one second. Let's add this in. Samuel. Let's do this. Samuel. Samuel 1. 15. Let's see if this works. Yeah, Samuel 1, 15. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah, 1 Samuel. I'm sorry. No, not working like that. Stay with me, folks. Stay with me. All right, just stay with me. 1 second. Ooh. What is going on here? Look at this. You see this? Everybody see this? Why is this doing this to me? Right when I need this. It's not nice. I can't get fit. There we go. 15. Okay. All right. So we get to pasuk 17. Ready? Right here. Vayomer Shmuel. Everybody with me?
Yep.
Vayomer Shmuel. Shmuel says to Shaul, Halo im katona tabienecha, if you were small in your eyes, Rosh Shiftei Yisrael ata, you are the head of the Jewish people. Vayim shachacha Hashem lemelech al Yisrael. Hashem made you king of the Jewish people. God put you in this position. Shaul, recognize your role. Ultimately, Shaul fails. And then he says, okay, let's bring all the sheep to God as a korban. Hashem says, no. Hashem doesn't want it. He's not interested in that. And he turns around and he says, Vayomer elav Shmuel kara Hashem es mamlechut Yisrael me'alecha hayom. Hashem has taken away the kingship of Israel from you this day. Unisana l'reacha hatov mimeka. And he's given it to your friend who's better than you. By the way, who's that friend? Who's that friend? Anyone?
David?
David.
That's right, David HaMelech. V'gam netzach Yisrael lo yishaker v'lo yinachem. Moreover, the glory of Israel does not deceive or change his mind, for he is not human, that he should change his mind. Guess what, everyone? And I call this in my therapy practice a legacy burden. We see this when it comes to many Holocaust survivors or Holocaust families. We call the legacy of the Holocaust and the impact on the later generations. There is a legacy burden that Esther is carrying with her, in that she is looking at herself and saying, why is God putting me in this position? And she might not be thinking as curiously or as intently until Mordechai says to her, if you don't step up now, your family, Beis Avich, your father's home, will lose out. Because this is your opportunity and your responsibility to atone for the sin of Shaul the king, who did not wipe out Amalek. And guess what? Take it one step further, says the Alshich. It's because of Shaul that we're in this mess in the first place. So when Esther hears those words from Mordechai, she realizes this is her legacy mission. This is the reason why everything is happening, and she must take action. Now, how do we answer the question of, well, why didn't they just wait? So there the Alshich explains beautifully, and he says, very simple. When did Haman make this lottery? What month?
Nisan.
Nisan. Mordechai knew that the month of Nisan is the month of the Geula. It's the month of redemption. And so Mordechai says, if we are going to be able to be successful, to be redeemed from this terrible, terrible plight, the time to do so is in the month of the Geula, is in the month of redemption. And so Mordechai, when he pleads to Esther, Esther gets the message that she has the legacy of her family to atone and to undo, to rid the world of Amalek. And listening to her uncle Mordechai, don't wait, but do so now, because now the time is ripe to be redeemed. It's the time for you. So when we talk about the story of Purim, when we talk about the day of Purim, we talk about internalizing our own personal, and maybe this will be the connection. You know, we say that the Gemara asks a question and says, when there are two Adars, when do we celebrate Purim? And the halacha is that we always celebrate Purim in the Adar which is closest to Nisan, the second Adar. And the Gemara says the reason is because we are somech geula legeula. We connect one redemption with the other redemption. The geula of Purim leads into the geula of Nisan. And on some level, in our own personal lives, some of us it can be a bigger challenge, some of us it could be a smaller challenge, some of us it could be a crisis, Some of us, it could be something professional. Some of us, it can be working on an attribute. On some level, at some time in life, we all need a geula. We all need a redemption from Hashem. This is the period of time in which we daven for that redemption. And that's the hidden secret within that pasuk that changed the entire perspective of Esther in the Purim story and allowed her to become for generations the heroine of the Jewish people in Golus. Thank you very much, everyone.